many new friends on here since I ran my first marathon, which was the Boston Marathon back earlier this year. It feels like 5 years ago, but it was literally in April of this year. So let's share my Boston Marathon story. I started training for the Boston Marathon exactly really 1 year ago this week. And I had a coach. My husband is my running coach, and I religiously did 2 to 3 runs during the week, religiously did my long runs. Every single Saturday morning, I would wake up between 3 and 4 a.m., depending upon how long I had to run, because I teach indoor cycling and strength sessions at a place called Rev'd. And on Saturday mornings, I have bagels with both my parents because I drop my daughter off on the way to go teach spin. So because I wanted to get my long run in, Saturday was the only day that I had the time in the morning to do my long run. So I would wake up between 3 and 4, bundle up, go out in the dark, in the cold, onto the streets to train. And looking back, I had no idea what I was doing. Yes, I listened to Mike's plan, but did not do any speed workouts. I just ignored some of the days of the plan where he would say to strength train. I just didn't do it. Tempo runs, saw a tempo run on the schedule, didn't know what it meant, didn't think to ask, even though he's literally sleeping next to me at night, just didn't do them. And the marathon was one of the best days of my life, but one of the most disastrous and scary and challenging and traumatizing. So trained, had a great time. I ended up raising almost, I think, over $13,000 for Gronk Youth Nation Foundation, which Rob Gronkowski is building a playground in Boston, which is gonna be super cool to see that come together. But got to teach a spin session for Gronk, met him a couple times, connected with my awesome team, raised the money, did lots of fundraising, and the race day came, and I can confidently say I have never been so sick in my entire life, except when I was in the hospital for 2 weeks during the birth of my daughter because I got really sick and she had to come early, blah, blah, blah. So around mile, if I remember correctly, 6 or 7 is when I started to feel faint. I started to feel dizzy. I could not see. I couldn't really breathe. And I said to my husband, so my husband was supposed to be pacing me the whole time. He did pace me the whole time. I don't feel good. I'm lightheaded. I'm dizzy. I can't see. And long story short, I basically ended up getting mild heat stroke. And from miles 7 to 26, I quite literally fought for my life to finish that race. I got dizzier and dizzier. I got hotter and hotter. Oh, I should mention it was the first hot day of the year. Got into the 70s, beautiful day for spectating. All my friends and family had a great time spectating. But as the race went on, I could see less and less. I was seeing stars. I wasn't really hydrating as much as I could. I could not stomach gels. I could not listen to anything in my ears. I barely remember seeing my family at mile 13. But mile 19 is when it all went extremely downhill. Mile 19, I was like, I actually can't do this anymore. I have to. It makes me sick thinking about it because it was so bad. I was like, I have to throw up. I'm done. So threw up. Think about a marathon porta potty. Was in there for a solid maybe 3-4 minutes. And that's when my friends that were tracking me started to be like, something's not wrong. Something's not right. Alyssa's significantly slowing down. So from mile 19 to 26, I threw up on and off the entire time, literally the entire time. And I said to my husband, I was like, no matter what, you are not letting me not finish this race. So every time I'd come out of the porta potty, he's like, come on, we got this, got me there. I stopped at the medical tent at some point because I was like, I can't finish. I can barely see. Again, was seeing stars, super nauseous, throwing up. They gave me some broth, some beef broth or something, hot soup. Had that, was like, I'm fine. They're like, you don't look fine. I'm like, nope, I'm fine. Let me keep going. It's all good. Kept going. And somehow, some way crossed that finish line. I remember kind of turning onto Boylston and thinking this is supposed to be this huge moment, right, that everybody talks about, turning on to Boylston and having this big experience of like everybody there cheering. At this point, it was like 5 hours and 57, 8, 9 minutes that like the crowds had thinned out. My family was there. It was dark out. And I finished and it was great. And then I went straight to the medical tent, got some more, like checked my blood pressure, wanted to make sure that I actually wasn't dying because that's how I felt. I got some anti-nausea medicine, which was super helpful, and then was just miserable for like a day until I ended up getting an IV the next day. But yeah, so that is my Boston Marathon story. Here's what I could have done better, and here's what was out of my control. I could have trained better. I definitely could have trained better in retrospect. I'm okay with admitting that because have no issues with what happened during the day. Like, it is what it is. It was my first marathon. My goal was to finish, and I finished. I could have trained better. Now understanding what speed workouts can do for you, what the tempo runs can do for you, what sticking to a plan can do for you after running 2 more, definitely could have trained better. Can't control the weather in Boston. Training for the Boston Marathon is so challenging because it is cold. It is freezing cold. You don't really have a choice unless you go travel somewhere. So I think that I'm really hoping to run Boston again. And I would maybe like do some heat training, like some more hot yoga. At the same time, now that I ran all summer long, my body is more accustomed to running in the heat. So I think I'd be able to tolerate it a lot more if the same situation were to happen. So I would probably train harder, train smarter, do some more PT, do some more strength training, try and train in the heat if and where I can. And yeah, so very traumatic. Like, I tend to black things out when something traumatic happens to me, which is very normal. But I am hoping to come back for revenge on that Boston Marathon course. My hope is that it's in 2025. And yeah, that is my Boston Marathon story. So for anyone that's starting to train. Take it seriously. Take it seriously. You just never know what's going to happen. I was like, I'm fit. I'm an athlete. I can do anything. I'm mentally tough. 6 hours, 4 minutes. Don't regret it, but definitely want to do it better.